Hi, how's everyone doing today? Once again, another vlog cast by the one and only Alex Person. I just went under anesthesia, when was this, 2 days ago, and had an endoscopy done. Well, I can't say this is my finest moment for looks. I don't really have too many fears today. This is going to be pretty procedural. Just a normal day in the life of a cancer patient. After that was done, I was awoken. What felt like to me was minutes had passed, and truthfully, 3 hours had passed. And it felt like nothing. I mean, I woke up to feeling like I had just fallen asleep. And honestly, compared to the last endoscopy, this one was awesome because I wasn't awoken to news of having cancer, which was the last experience. Last time I woke up and was abruptly told you have cancer, so it was a traumatic thing. Whereas this time, I already knew that, and there was no shocks. It was just awaiting news on how it's going and how treatments have been going. And the answer to that, the short answer is things have been going well. The only treatments I've gotten, and I say only speculatively because there's a lot of other things that could have happened, such as radiation and chemo, but my oncologist elected for me to go the most high-tech route, which was immunotherapy. This was the pictures of my esophagus from the endoscopy. And you can see a clear hole here where I do have an actual hole still for food to go down, which is good. This is not normal by any means, especially this part, which is getting closer to the junction of the stomach. This is really where things get tight and where you can start to see the cancer. This would typically, be open like this, whereas mine is very constricted. So, even with a result like this is good because this was actually a slight improvement from last time. They would have liked to see more in a perfect world, but it's not growing. So my ability to swallow is not getting worse, and that means the cancer is not growing. And that's really what cancer wants to do, is it wants to continue to produce cells and grow in size and mass, and that's where the danger lies, is that I once have a passable esophagus that will allow fluids and some foods through, versus complete closure where nothing goes through it whatsoever. And then even worse, where the cancer spreads to other organs and metastasizes. Now, the chance for metastasizing is still there. I am by no means out of hot water. It could get into my lymph nodes, and that's how it spreads. But for the time being, all is looking pretty positive in that there is no spread or growth. So, endoscopy, good. That is that. And that was a nice, it felt good when I was done with it. It was a pretty positive day. By no means am I out of hot water. I'm not in more. There's no further complications yet. So, good stuff. I think as an homage to the success, I want to talk more about the Brock Cancer Center and what that place has been like. Patiently awaiting the doctor. Got a 2-day take-home chemo machine, which won't work with the scope coming up, so We'll see what she says after that. I'm in a big room today, so I don't know what that means. Probably nothing. I was scheduled to come in for labs and a doctor follow-up after, but no labs were required, I'm guessing, because they were going to try to do the chemo today, but we're going to fill them in on the news about the scoop. So and away we go. Now I will do a vlog of me doing my first chemo treatment there, which at this given time will not be until the 9th of September. It is Labor Day weekend. Happy holidays to all. Holiday weekend, rather. So I kind of have a little bit of a break here after the endoscopy. I do go in for labs to test my liver function and my immunotherapy side effects for the diarrhea. Hopefully that goes well. I was having a little bit of jaundice, yellowing of the skin under my eyes. It's getting a little bit better. They had me on 60 milligrams of prednisone every day to treat that primarily. Now let's keep in mind there is a distinction between treating the side effects of cancer treatment versus treating cancer. So don't confuse the two in that prednisone is treating cancer, because it's not. Now, cancer treatments aren't something that you do and then the effects of them go away when you stop. I haven't taken immunotherapy in it's been close to a month now, but I'm still feeling and still under the effect of that treatment. So, when people talk about no more toxicity in their body or no more treatment chemicals in them, it takes months down the road before that stuff fully exits your system. And for a reason, because they want it to linger, so it's residual and continuing to do what it's designed to do, which is fight a disease such as cancer, which is very invasive and wants to infinitely grow inside of you. So it's important it is that way. So 60 milligrams of prednisone is a very high dose. A typical male would take prednisone for things like pneumonia or any kind of immune system disorder where they need a boost, or they need it to taper off and kind of commit its course of nature naturally. And they would typically be on a 20 milligram dose, whereas I'm on a 60. Now, how has this been for me? Prednisone is a steroid. It's not like testosterone, but my emotions definitely, as a side effect, have been running high. I find myself getting a little bit angrier than I would, or anger is not the right word. I would say more emotional than I normally would. And it's tough to control the chemical imbalance in myself on top of the emotional response of just having cancer and the frustrations that go with that. So there's a couple of inner battles within me, some of which I can control and some of which I cannot at this given time. So especially when it comes to your support group, without direction and understanding and recognition for given help, and sometimes even may lead to them giving up on trying to help you because they feel as if they're hurting you. So the important thing there is just to not forget where the intentions lie. It's a relationship, right? It's a balance between you and that person and positive reinforcement and direction. So I only bring up positive reinforcement because it's not only statistically and scientifically the better way of reinforcing a habit. It's more effective than negative reinforcement, saying, no, that's bad. I'm not going to reward you for doing said behavior. And that's a fact. You can Google that one. Positive reinforcement is far more effective than negative. So when you get something done for you that's working, it's better to instill in that person in a positive way for doing said behavior. For instance, if someone did my laundry for me, or took me to a doctor, or got me a gift, or donated to me in a way that was very suitable for my needs, an example of positive reinforcement would be thanking them, showing them how it helped you, rewarding them with the gift of your love or admiration or material, whatever it may be. It's a positive way of saying, good job, that's what I needed, thank you. Versus negative being, oh, that didn't work out, now I'm going to take this away from you, or not talk to you at all, or stonewall you, or be mean. Those are negative reinforcement tactics, and that's, even in discipline, has been proven to be less effective for having somebody repeat a given action. So that's my dictation on positive and negative reinforcement for the day. Takeaways from that are: guide your support group by education. Tell them what your needs are. Don't be afraid to vocalize them, but don't hold it over their head with threats or demands of saying things like, if you don't do this, then this will happen. Or pulling out that all-powerful cancer card saying, well, I'm the one with cancer right now. I have everything to lose, or I have nothing to lose. I'm going to be dead anyways. So it's just, there's a time and a place for it, right? And learning when to mention you have cancer to somebody who may not be aware of that, and using that card as an out for doing whatever you need to do to get through whatever situation you're in. There's a right and wrong time to do it. I found myself early on saying, well, I have cancer, so that's the way it's going to be, and I'm not going to see it any other way. And that's really off-putting sometimes, and it's not helpful to anyone, including yourself, because the result of that is going to be perceived and demonstrated in a couple of ways. Sometimes a person will completely crack and feel for you and say, oh man, he has cancer. I'm going to bend over backwards now. But that leads to, it's a slippery slope, because it leads to people maybe not thinking something all the way through, and maybe doing something that you and them both will regret because they were too lenient about said action. And you might not achieve the result you wanted, or more importantly, what was best. So, I guess the best way for me to say when to use it and when not to. I have a legal matter where I'm going to have to explain to a judge about getting my license reinstated, about why I need to have it reinstated, and why, restrictions that were imposed on me need to be lifted. This is a time where I believe the cancer card is appropriately pulled out. The judge needs to be aware that I have cancer. There's a clear distinction of this is a matter of health, and the need to travel back and forth to a doctor. And there's really no gray area there. It's cut and dry. I have a disease that will more than likely kill me. So now, when would that not be appropriate? If I wasn't facing a judge, if I was facing a friend, right? And I have 5 friends, let's say, that are willing to take me to a doctor. For me to say, you have to take me to the doctor today, I have cancer. when I have other options and may need the friend I'm talking about to do something else with me. It could burn a bridge because they have to drop whatever they're doing on that day because I have cancer, which may put them in a worse situation, which may lead to less interactions and help in the future. So those are two examples of when and when not to use that card. Sometimes it's not necessary to remind people you have cancer. It's it's in the back of everyone's mind. They're the ones that are going to survive you, and they're the ones actually with something to lose, which is you. Especially when your type of cancer is terminal. I don't want to get too negative on the chances of survival, but they say not to Google it and not to look it up, and most people still do it. I did it. It's only natural to do something like that, but it's also not going to help you as a patient to know those things without the timing being appropriate. Because what it leads to is a lot of negativity and frustration and inability to really control your emotions about it. When I found out, and I'll be out with it because I know it, when I found out that within a year of being diagnosed with esophageal cancer, regardless of age, race, creed, or color, the general survival rates of 1 year is 12 months, 12 to 14 months. Now, these odds are cut in half if surgery, which is an esophagectomy in my case, is out of question. So, my cancer being stage 3A is too advanced to be removed by surgery at this time. So immediately, my 20% dropped to a 10%. And further complicating that would be advanced treatments like immunotherapy. If those are also off the table, your chances go down even less. So, if we're going to look at the statistics, 20% went to 10, went to 5 of survival. Do I really feel like those numbers are an accurate representation of my survival rate? No, I don't. That's just what statistics has laid out from previous cases. So is it helpful for me to constantly remind myself and watch survivor videos of people laying out how long I have to live? No, it's not. Because nothing changes in my behaviors by knowing that. All I know, and the only option I have, is to follow the orders of the doctors, do the right things for my health, eat the right things for my health, and continue on. If I dwell and stress about my chances, or feel hopeless, or feel like there's no point in fighting, then will I continue to fight? I personally will, but that's because I believe in what I'm trying to say and the message I'm putting across. It's counterproductive to sit around and be negative about your condition because of a percentage. That would lead to just complete negativity and giving up, and that's not what we're here to do. We're here to fight. So everyone's special. Everyone has a unique set of health strengths and weaknesses, and while it's important to not forget the fragility of those things, it's also important to not go too far down the rabbit hole of hopelessness and despair. Those are all paths to the dark side of getting past this. So try to stay positive and don't put too much weight on those statistics.